God damn it. Hello everybody. Today we are going to be wrapping the Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing. If you might remember, I previously had a cafe fairing, which is right over here. So I used to have this cafe fairing on here, and I had wrapped this before. And now that I got the Road Warrior fairing, I wanted to wrap it to have it match the rest of the bike. So to do that, we're gonna need our wrap. I had a bunch of scraps left over from before, but nothing to really comprehensively be able to cover the whole thing. So got some more wrap. As always, we're gonna need our cutting tape, our heat gun, something to clean off the surfaces, and our gloves. First thing is first, we're gonna get this off the bike to get it all cleaned up. Then we're gonna go ahead and put on the cutting tape to outline the design that we want, put on the wrap, heat it down, stretch it out, make sure everything fits, and then peel off the cutting tape, and then we should be good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the windscreen. All right, so we'll take our windscreen, set it off to the side with all the screws. Then we can go ahead and take this off. This is one of the really nice things about the trigger locking mechanism. Just like that, we have our Road Warrior fairing off. So next step is to go ahead and get this cleaned up. So just as with anything else, when you're going to try and put something onto a surface and have it stick long term, you want to make sure it is very clean and don't skip any steps in terms of preparation. If you have any leftover bug guts, grease, dirt, oils, whatever on the surface when you go to apply the wrap, you risk it not sticking for very long. So we'll just spray some of our cleaner. Just make sure everything is very clean. You want to make sure you're not using something that's going to leave any lint behind. By the way, if you're thinking about wrapping, I do highly recommend it. This is really the third time I've attempted to wrap anything. The first time I was able to get the entire bike done. The second time I went to go fix some of the wrap on the bike, on the tank, and the tank was by far the hardest part of doing the wrap. So this is going to be the third time I'm doing it, and I highly recommend it. It's incredible. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than trying to do a custom paint job. In my experience, it's held up fantastic. It's held up really well over time. With the exception of the tank, in which case that was my fault. Those are some of the mistakes I made. I overcomplicated it. And so some of it was starting to peel off, and I didn't do a good job of treating it. So lessons learned there. But in general, for the rest of the bike, highly recommend it. Everything is held up so well through a variety of different temperatures, environments, everything. So I do recommend taking a look. If you want to change up the aesthetic of your bike, look into getting a vinyl wrap. It's easy to pick up. You just need the right tools. You just need some patience and a steady hand. If you got all that, you're good to go. Or just pay someone else to do it, or get a custom paint job. Do what you want. Just saying, this may be a viable option for you. I haven't fully yet decided how I want to do the design. I'm not sure if I'm going to follow the same process as I did before, by kind of have it be somewhat of like that bikini kind of fairing look, where it kind of comes on to a point and then comes around, or if I have something a little bit bigger. I'm thinking, since this is a bigger fairing, not to do something too delicate. It might kind of throw it off. So having something maybe a little bit thicker, since this is a larger fairing with thicker lines, having something to complement that I think would look nice. All right, so now that that's all cleaned up, the next step is to get our cutting tape and to figure out how we want to put this on. So I did have a couple of ideas, some more complex than others. One being kind of doing a negative look. So we're gonna kind of fill in the areas and having the detail be black and the rest of it be white. But I think that kind of is the inverse of what we already have on the bike, where the white is kind of the accent, not really the filler. So maybe we don't go that far down. Because I was thinking like, okay, maybe having this whole section be white and then maybe have the lines be black. I was actually thinking also about wrapping the entire fairing in white. So I'm wondering if that might be too much white. Yeah, I think to match the rest of the bike, having it be a mix of black and white, I think is gonna look best. This is always the hard part. Making a decision on what you want the bike to look like is, in my opinion, the hardest part of all of this. So I think what we could do is kind of copy this. So if we were gonna copy this template, instead of it coming down to a point like this, instead what I think I'm gonna do is have it start here and then come up and around. So what I'm considering is, you know, do we use this part, and this may not show up in camera, but the fairing is gonna come right here. So the fairing is gonna sit right here. So having this be the consistent thickness across, so it kind of goes, so if we use this as our pseudo tape measure, so it kind of goes to here. So having then this kind of be the consistent length all the way across, so that's gonna bring it down past this natural angle here, which I don't know if I kind of want, on one end I do like it to be consistent, but then on another end I don't want to force it to where it's kind of going against the natural contour and lines of the fairing. So maybe I'll just do something like this, where it'll just come across and kind of hug the mounting plate, hug this, come back, and then kind of swoop down, or have it kind of come up, so it kind of follows this similarly. So maybe it'll come up, across, and then back, and then we'll wrap here, cut it from the top. And the challenge here is you kind of have to commit to what you want to do. When you try and wrap, it doesn't really lend itself to trying to make impromptu changes, because you have to cut out the piece and kind of figure it out. Like you can do it, but it does require some level of skill to be able to make those changes and have it all still work out pretty well. Which that's not something I may necessarily have. So that's why I'm trying to put a lot more thought before we map out everything and try and get started, just to minimize those changes as we get into it. I think I'm just gonna have it follow this line and then just drop straight down. The nice thing is, if you don't like the design, after you start to lay it down, you can always lift up the cutting tape and change it. So like for here, what I'm not liking is how this side is going to be pretty thin, and then this side is going to be pretty thick, so it's going to be inconsistent there. So what I think I would prefer is maybe actually do something maybe like this. So how do we think that's gonna look? So it's gonna come down, so this part will all be white. Swoop over here. This part will all be white. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So now we need to make sure that our lines are straight, because sometimes what can happen is if you can look at it like this from this angle, you see the lines are a little bit they're not straight. When we're putting the tape down, we kind of got a little bit of a swerve. So you can just lift it and give it a little bit of tension just to make sure it's straight. And just lay it down like that. That is significantly straighter than before. It's one side down. So now the trick is to mirror the other side and try to make it as even as possible. So on this side, we've gone just down, just past this curve here. So we want to aim for right here. All right, so there's a few different ways to do this. I prefer to go from one side to the other side. Some folks try and do it kind of like from the front to the sides. Try out different things, see what's gonna work for you. But I'm gonna go ahead and start with this side. And I did put down our spare wrap on the bottom just to prevent any other dirt and stuff from getting on here. So name of the game here is to use heat to be able to stretch everything out to get the lines on the contour. But since there's not really that many crazy angles, my objective here is to stretch it as little as possible and just to try and let it sit onto the fairing as much as we can. I'm not gonna peel the entire thing all at once. I'm just gonna peel off on one side and then gradually move over. Oh no. Yeah, our angle got messed up. Worst case scenario, what we could then do is maybe cut a line down the middle. So it's actually like now two separate pieces and have that kind of go with the bike, but I'd rather keep that as a secondary resort.
Eventually.
I'm gonna be very careful about that tear now. Because if this moves up anymore, it's gonna not cover. So I'm gonna be very careful about that now.
12 seconds later.
God damn it. Oh, now this ripped. All right, well, I think what I'm gonna do is just separate this up into two pieces. Cut a line here, cut a line here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to salvage this piece because it's been, we can try it. But let's figure out what the center point is. All right, so this is the same width as this up here. So let's just try and go with that. Peel this back off. So we're gonna peel this one back. We'll keep an eye on our line right there. I'm gonna make a little. All right, so we have our sections marked off. So now let's put this guy back down. Okay, so not to the standard that I like, but you know, maybe we'll revisit this down the line. Had a few hiccups here. The cutting tape is really just not working out for me today. I don't know what's going on with it. It keeps breaking, not cutting properly. But we got some squills here, kind of broke up here. But it is what it is, and all we can do is press on, and you know, maybe we'll revisit this and try this again on another day, but I'd like to get the other side done. So this time, start from the bottom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we ended up. Not ideal, but not bad. Had a few difficulties here and there, but overall, not perfect. Then again, nothing on the bike is perfect. You know, there's definitely a few imperfections here and there. I think from a distance, this is gonna look really nice. So next step is to go ahead and get this back onto the bike, screw in the windshield again, see how it turned out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is gonna be our attempt at wrapping the fairing. Didn't come out as good as the cafe fairing, if I'm gonna be honest. Still a few things here and there, but you know what? I like it. I like how it came out. I actually kind of think I like the stripe in the middle a little bit more than it all being one thing. Kind of breaks it up a little bit. I think it goes really nicely, kind of offsetting with the fender here. So that was kind of a happy mistake that got us there. But there's still definitely some quality issues elsewhere. So you know what? We might try this again down the line. But otherwise, as always, everybody, be brave, do good, take care of yourselves. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, catch you in the next one. Have a great day.